Welcome to the second part of the series. This is the series about building the complete AI automation stack from complete basics locally. So we have already seen how you can configure n8n in the best possible way. So now it's time for MinIO. So even before I go ahead and tell you all the steps that you need to install MinIO locally without any issues and then connect it to n8n, I would like to tell you everything of what we're doing, what are we trying to achieve, and why don't we just do it any other way. So the first thing is MinIO is an object store. So it's a place to store your files. If you're working with large files, it's better to store it somewhere rather than just having it in the n8n workflow editor because it has limited window. And also you might just want to save some things. So here is one of the questions that people have, that why not just use Google Drive? So here are two issues with services like Google Drive and Dropbox and everything else you can imagine. So whatever service that is not an object store primarily has that issue. So when you upload things to Google Drive, you don't exactly get a direct link. So in many services, like NCA Toolkit as well, we'll see that you need direct download links. So what direct download links are is that, so you just enter the link in your search bar or in some kind of API, you put the get request to get that file or get that resource, and it will automatically start downloading. So let me show you an example. So I was trying to download this file from Google Drive. So let me copy this link again and enter this again here. So let's see what happens. If I can download the file or can I not? So there you go. So I can download this file. So this is a direct link, but you don't have these direct link available directly from the drive. So here you can see that when you share the files and everything, you just see these files and then you click on download and then it goes ahead and starts creating the download link for you. So these services don't provide a direct download link, and it's similar for Dropbox and everything. So these links are either short-lived or they're session-based. So if you look this link carefully, I'll paste it here again. So in this entire link you see, there will be some information encoded of when this link expires or when the session ID expires on my computer. So this link won't work anymore. Then I'll have to go ahead and generate this again. So when people do it directly using code or programming, so what they actually do is they have some extra nodes. So let me just show you here. So firstly, we'll have a trigger. If you're fetching a file directly from the Google Drive, in the Drive node, you have a download and upload link. For example, if I go here and search Google Drive, you can see I have a download file, right? The NCA toolkit does not take any kind of non-direct links, or you can't even pass the image or video from here. So suppose you just download using the Drive node, and then from that node, you might think I'll just pass it to the NCA toolkit, will make another HTTP node, and I'll pass it there. So it won't work because it just takes a direct link. And that's how many other services do. So to fix this programmatically, what actually happens is, let me show you the example of Dropbox here. So the first thing you do is you make a node or you send a HTTP request that you need the file information. So you'll probably get the file information from one of these endpoints here. So you can see this endpoint. So this is the exact endpoint I'm talking about. So if you give a request to this endpoint with the exact file name, so this will create a shared link. So there you go. So this will create the shared link, and then that link will be directly accessible to give it to NC Toolkit or something else. So that's why we need MinIO, because it just has direct links. So you can either access it by making the buckets public and you can just access it, or you can just give an API token with it. So you can use it that way. So here's also a visual example of what I explained a minute ago, that you have this drive or some kind of other store, and then you have these little files, but they're not downloadable. So to make them downloadable, either you manually do it, which I just did here. So I just told it to download. So it went ahead, did its thing in the background, and when I click download again, so it just made a link. And if I copy this link again from here and use it, for example, 2 or 3 hours later, it might expire. But this is the entire thing, and that's why we're using MinIO or some kind of other object store. You might use AWS S3 or Google's object store or anything else. But that's the thing. That's why we need the object store. So now let's go ahead and install MinIO object store. So there's a disclaimer here that do not use the latest version. What that means is when you specify the image here, you can see that I am telling it to get this image, and after the colon, I'm supposed to tell it the exact version. So if I remove this and add latest here, then it's going to fetch the latest image. But there has been a recent issue that the latest image does not have the AGPL3 license or V3. So we need this license to have full functionality of MinIO. So if you don't use this, you'll probably get the community edition, which doesn't have any settings, probably no access keys. And if they're not even giving this basic functionality, I don't even know what they're giving. So now I'm going to copy this command and take it to my text editor to make any changes if I want to make. So the first thing that you need to see here is that you're exporting two ports. One is 9000, so you're mapping the internal port 9000 to the external port. And then you're mapping the 9001 to 9001 again. So the reason why we have two ports is because at 9000, you have the API. So this is the port that you're going to use in n8n to connect to MinIO. And the other port, which is 9001, is to access the console. So if you go to localhost this, you should see the graphical interface of MinIO. And I've also tried that if I go to this link, I can access it as well, but the API is only available at this link. So let's look at the other commands. So you're giving it a name of MinIO. It's going to be stored at this location in your C drive. The other flag we're giving it is this environment variable, and we're saying the username should be admin, the password should be password123, and we're fetching the image from this location, and this is the exact version, so we don't get the community edition. And we're exposing the console address at this. So either you can just keep this email and password, or you can change it to whatever you like. So I already have a MinIO instance running on my computer because I already have it installed. So what I'll do is just change the name of MinIO to MinIO demo, and then change this to demo as well, so I don't overlap the folders and overwrite my files and ruin everything for me. So now I have this ready to go into Docker. So I'm going to copy this from here and head to Docker, open the terminal, and paste it here. This should create another Docker container for me. There you go. So now I have MinIO demo ready. And it's working at the same ports because I don't have this open. So if I had this running, this would probably throw me an error and won't start. And that's why I closed it. So let's look at the entire logs. You can see that it is already running, and you can also see the license here. So you're getting this license, and that's exactly what we need. If you get the latest, you won't see this here. And now you can see it also tells you that the API is available at 9000 and the web UI is available at this. So these are the network URLs. Either you can just click here and go to that, or I'll just go ahead and click on localhost and use this link. So if I go here, you'll see that I have my object store ready. So I should just be able to use the username and password I specified here. So I'll type admin as my username and password123 as my password. And then I'll click on login. And there you go. I have MinIO running on my computer. So we have installed MinIO successfully. So now let's see how you can connect MinIO to n8n. So I'm going to delete these two nodes, which I created. And I'm using my original instance, which is derived from my local setup. So this is just being tunneled here through Power Player. So I'll go ahead and add the S3 node. So you need this blue bucket to talk to MinIO. So I'll just use the create a bucket command so I can add some trivial functions and see those functionalities. And then later I'll show you all the commands and things you can do, and also add the template in the description. So now I have my S3 node ready. I'll go ahead and connect this to MinIO. So I'll open this, and you can see I already have a credential, which is the credential that I generally use, but I'll go ahead and create a new one to show you how you can do it too. So there are a few things you need. Firstly, you need the S3 endpoint. The second thing you need is the access key. The third is the secret key. So firstly, you have to come here and copy this. This is the exact URL you need. And I'll explain to you what this Host.Docker.Internal means, because sometimes this can be confusing. It is different than localhost. What exactly is this? I'm going to tell you in a moment. So let's first configure this. So in the S3 endpoint, I'll enter this, and it is 9000 because that's where the API is exposed at port 9000. Then I will get the access key from the console. I'll go ahead and click on access keys from here, then click on create access key, copy the access key and paste it in the access key ID. Then copy the secret key from here. I can also show you, this is the secret key, and paste it here. Then in the name, you can give it a name. And for some reason, it allows you to create access keys without even names. But just to have some structure and to know what's going on, I'll generate the key with the name n8n demo. So we have all this configured. I'm going to click on create. Then it's going to prompt me to download the access and secret key, because for security reasons, you won't ever be able to see your security key again, except this file, which you're going to download. So click on this, you will get the credentials and you can download it. So I'm not going to download it because I'm going to delete it anyway, but you should download, and there you go. So you have your access key configured. You can see the name. Then I'll go ahead and click on save, and you'll see the credentials successfully created. I'm going to close this tab and come here and make a new bucket. So to test this, I'm going to say test it. And then it says the connection cannot be established. This usually occurs due to an incorrect host name. So this is another error that people might face. So let's examine what's going on and let me tell you. So it says that this is what it's trying to find. It's trying to find this address, bucket-demo at Host.Docker.Internal. So what it's actually supposed to do is, let me show you in the text editor. It's supposed to go on this link. The link is this one. I'll copy this again and paste it here. So it's supposed to go here and then the bucket name, which is bucket demo. So it's supposed to do this. But what it actually does here is that it is going to this link. So first it's trying to do this, and then it's trying to add this at the end. So it's trying to do the opposite. So to fix this issue, what you need to do is come here and then click on credentials again, and then come down and click on force path style. So that's gonna force it to follow this style. And when I save this again and run this, you will see it through. So that means our bucket is created. I'll refresh this page and let's see our bucket. There you go. So I have bucket demo. I can also create another one saying bucket demo 2, and it's going to work as expected. I'll go back and refresh it. If it's not there, there you go. So we have it here. So that's how you can connect n8n to MinIO without any issues. Now I'll show you everything that you can do with MinIO and some errors you might face. So these are the common issues and some errors that you face while building advanced automations. So here's the entire template that I've just created to work with MinIO and any other kind of object store and binary data in n8n. So first, let's talk about why Host.Docker.Container. So when I created my credentials, you can see from here, I'll open this again just to show you. So this is Host.Docker.Internal. So this really confuses people. So let me explain this to you with a visual. So here we have the device. So this is your computer. So every device technically has these many UDP and TCP ports, but all you need to remember is that this is the number of ports you can make inside a computer. And when I say these many nodes, I also include the numbering. You cannot make localhost 90,000, right? 99,000 or some other number. So it has to be limited within this. So now let's talk about what actually happened. So inside your main computer, these are the number of ports, and you can access this using localhost and then your port number, right? That's how you access it. But when you make a Docker container, you're not only making a container, but you're starting an entire operating system inside of it. And I can show it to you here. So if you go to Docker and then you open any container, so I have MinIO demo open, I'll just click and open this, and you'll see in exec, it is actually running. So this is an entire Linux system. So you have this virtual machine running inside. So when you use these flags, for example, if you come here and see, so for example, if you look in the scripts, you see that you're manually exposing these ports. So when you use this command, what it says is that expose the port 9000 from inside the container, and it should be accessible on the main machine at this port. So you have your Docker, you make a container, and if you use this command, the service is going to run at 9000 inside of the container, but at outside from the host machine, it should be accessible at 9005. So if you go to localhost 9005 here in the browser, it's going to go to this inside of it. So you're actually reaching the main container from here. So this is how you communicate from this side to this side, from your main machine to the Docker container. But what if you want to reach the main machine from inside the container? So that's where this Host.Docker.Internal come in. And the reason why we're trying to reach that is because you can see I'm exposing the API port at 9000. That means the API port is available at localhost 9000. So if I try to access this, let me show you. I'll open Postman and I'll make a new request and I'll send a GET request at this address. So this is where my API is right now. So if I send it, you will see that I get a 403 forbidden. That means there's an API server running here, but I didn't provide it the API keys, so I cannot access it. That means it's actually running. And our n8n is inside Docker. So if you look at the visuals, this is our container, and there's an n8n container. There's another container, which is MinIO. MinIO is exposed at 9000, the API. n8n is exposed at 5678. Right. So it's trying to reach its API, but the API is outside the container. It's on the actual system. So you're saying, when you say host.docker.internal, you say go to the host machine at this port. Because if you say localhost 9000 inside n8n, that means it's going to look at the localhost inside of Docker. Because there's nothing on localhost 9000 in n8n's container. Because it's running in a different container of MinIO. So that's why we use this host.docker.internal. let's move on to a bit of a basic demo. So firstly, I aim to create a bucket, then a folder, and then upload the file. So I'll connect this node to this bucket, and then I'll run this node. So what this is going to do is it's going to download a file from a Google Drive, and I specified the exact name, which I have available here, the video file.mp4. So now you can see this node have done the execution, and I have my video here. So if I try to open it, you'll see that it is about 7.5 minutes. And this is a long form video we produced earlier.
Upon a time, in a serene valley nestled between.
So there you go. It has downloaded this file for us. Now I aim to create a bucket called G Drive Demo, then create a folder inside the bucket called videos, and then upload this file. I'll just call it video.mp4. So when I run the first node, you will see that there should be a bucket. There are no buckets right now. I'm going to refresh it. And there you go. I have a new bucket here. Then I'll run this node, and this should create a folder. And if I go inside, there is the folder. So now this is one of the basic issues people run into when you're trying to upload your file and if the data is not directly in the subsequent node. So now if I try to configure the data here, even though that the data is existent in Drive, which is about 2 nodes back, if I run this, it says that there is no data. This operation expects the node's input data to contain a binary file, but there is none. So even though this exists here, but you cannot use it because the data has to be in the directly next node. But there is a way to use it in subsequent nodes as well. And there's a workaround about it, but there are so little people who know about this. So let's look at the problem before we even go ahead. So here I have the guide. So I'll actually go ahead and change the color. So accessing binary data in n8n is kind of messed up. So here is how you can do it. So I'll actually come here and make another bucket, and I'll disconnect the first node. I'll disconnect this, and I will make a bucket named binary fixer. And there you go, binary fixer. So now I have a bucket, and inside the bucket, I'll just directly store the file. So if you're trying to upload the thing, it's not going to work. So this is a copy node. I'm going to delete this and add the upload file node. So this is how you upload it. So now you'll see that the data doesn't exist. I'll say the bucket name is, I'll just copy it from here. I copy the bucket name and it should be video.mp4. So n8n has implemented the binary data kind of weirdly. So how you can use it is through the merge node. So this allows you to merge multiple data streams, right? So firstly, it's getting data from this node, and then you can say it should also get data from this node. So in the merge node, you will see either you can append the data, combine the data, and there's all sorts of things. But this node only takes one input, right? It just takes this because this is one upload operation. So either you can loop around it or there might be some upload many node. So open this and then select choose branch. So if you combine it, the data will be merged. If you append it, there will be an array of data. There will be an array of data. If I choose branch and then I say, I'll just test it, and you'll see there's nothing because there's no data coming in from here. But if I choose the second branch, I'll have the data. There you go. So now I have data to upload here, even in the subsequent branches. So there's a data incoming. I'll just upload this, and hopefully this should upload it in the binary fixer. So I'll go back in binary fixer. There you go. So that's how you can use data in subsequent nodes, right? So now let me show you one more demo. So we have seen uploading file and doing all of this. I'm going to delete this link, and I'll delete this bucket as well. And then I'll copy the file which I just made. So let's go ahead and I'll copy. So here you can read the guide. It says the first should be bucket and there should be a slash in the beginning. And I'll copy the G Drive demo. It doesn't have anything. So I'll go to binary fixer and I'll copy this name and this bucket name as well. So firstly, I'll paste the bucket name, and then I'll paste the video name, and then I'll paste the second bucket name, which is G Drive demo. And then I'll paste the folder name, and there should be a slash in the front, and videos, and then I'll paste the same thing here. So now let's run this node and see if there's an error. There you go. So it gave me all the information, the e tag and all that stuff. If I go in videos, there it is. And as you know, it was a copy command, so the video will exist in both places. So if you want to run the cut command, technically that's what's called in the computer. So you should firstly copy it and then you should delete it. That will be equivalent of doing that, right? So that's all. I'm going to attach this file in the description and you can play around with it, load everything, configure n8n and MinIO, and I'll see you in the next one.